down. Feel the connection. Feel all 10 toes into the ground. And take another deep breath in. Open mouth, let it go. Another one just like that. Deep breath in, fill up, fill up, fill up, fill up, fill up. Hold at the top, squeeze to the top of your head, and open mouth, let it go. All right, I want you to start shaking your hands. And just shake your hands wildly. Awesome. Now start to shake your arms. And start to shake one leg, the other leg, and then just hop around. Now just shake your whole body. Just get weird, turn into a jellyfish. Maybe spin around, get weird, shake it all off for 5, 4, shake even harder. 3, 2, and 1, stop. Reach your hands back down. Feel the buzzing in your hands and your extremities. Feel your connection to the ground. Now take another deep breath in. Open mouth, release. Another one, deep breath in. Open mouth. All right, deepest one yet. Inhale, fill up, fill up, fill up. Squeeze your glutes, press your belly into your spine, fill up to the top of your head. Hold at the top. Take another sip of air in. Another sip, and let it go. Notice how you feel for a moment here. Now inhale, sweep your fingertips up. And exhale, fold forward, leading with your heart. And then drop your head down towards your toes. Release your hands to the ground. Take a generous bend in your knees. And if it feels good, maybe wrap your arms around your elbows. Shift your weight into your toes. Let me move this so you guys can see. And release your head, your neck. Let your upper body just drape over your legs. Feel like gravity is just pulling the crown of your head down towards the ground. You're getting a nice spine extension. You can bend deeper in your knees if you want more of a low back release, or straighten your legs to get a little more of a hamstring release. Let's see what you can let go of here. Maybe your neck muscles, maybe your shoulders, maybe your back muscles. Release the posterior chain of your spine. And just let go. Slow your breathing. And gently release your fingertips down. And inhale, lift up halfway. Lengthen through your spine. Send the crown of your head forward. Slight bend in your knees. Create a flat back here. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. If I were to put hot coffee on your back, it would be cool. That'd be fine. Take another deep breath in. Drive the crown of your head forward. Feel a little burning in your hamstrings. And exhale, release. Let your head down. And inhale, rise up one vertebrae at a time. Sweep your fingertips up overhead. Then bring your hands to heart center. Now, make 2 strong fists and reach them towards the ground. Now, I want you to irradiate tension in your shoulders, in your pecs, in your core. If I were to walk by and push you, you'd be unmoving, nice and strong. The only thing that's gonna move is your neck. So take a deep breath in, and exhale, drop your chin down toward your chest. Now roll your chin up your right collarbone, and then drop your right ear to your right shoulder. Keep the left shoulder down. Now start to gaze up, send the crown of your head back, press your belly into your spine, and trace a line across the ceiling and over to the left. Working your left ear to your left shoulder, then your chin to your left shoulder, and then ride your collarbone back to center. Let's reverse it. Start to roll to the left. Left ear to your shoulder. Keep tension in your right arm. Gaze across the ceiling, sending the crown of your head back. Keep your low ribs down. And working it back to center. It's called a controlled articular rotation. It really helps get blood flow into the cervical spine area. Huge for when we're tilting and looking down all the time. Anyway, inhale, sweep your fingertips high. And exhale, rotate your torso to the right, reach your right fingertips back. Now focus on your hips. Roll your right hip forward, left hip back, gaze over your right shoulder. As you inhale, send the crown of your head a little higher. As you exhale, gaze a little deeper, twist a little deeper through your torso. And inhale, come back to center. And exhale, open up to the left, reaching your left fingertips back. And press your left hip forward so that your hips are facing forward. The twist is in your torso. Again, lengthen through your spine as you inhale. And exhale, twist a little bit deeper. Inhale, come back to center. And exhale, your hands to heart center. Close your eyes for a moment. Press your thumbs into your sternum. And take a moment to set an intention. What do you want to get out of this webinar? Exhale out your air. Now take a deep breath in with your intention. And open mouth, let it go. And slowly open your eyes and shake it off and come back to a seat. All right, how you guys feeling? Anybody want to chime in?
When did all, well, okay, sorry, first I'll introduce you to everyone. This is Dr. Christian. If I said, as I said earlier, if I said anything else about him, it would be doing a disservice. He is one half of the Dental Yogis on Instagram. His website is thedentalyogis.com. And I looked through the website and I found so much interesting outreach, I'll call it, that you do. And first of all, I'd like to ask, when did this healing, because originally your handle makes me think that you're a yogi and you teach yoga classes, but instead, as on your profile, you come off as a healer, anything physical, mental, and it seems more like a movement than a passion or just a hobby. So if you would like to tell us when all of this started and how you've continued it throughout your life.
For sure. Thank you, Alex. I think the healing really began when we started researching therapy a little bit and the gaps in services, and especially the gap between therapy and coaching. And I'm not sure how familiar you guys are, but the two industries, essentially, therapy is more for resolving a trauma, and I'm talking right now just straight psychological, versus coaching is pushing through a limiting belief or a limitation or a setback or a blind spot and helping move forward, essentially. Because we all have things that have happened to us or have affected the way we see the world. Whether we're aware of it or not, our development between the ages of 2 and 7, we pick up a lot in terms of perspective, developing an identity, developing a personality in the way we work and the way we do things. And a big thing that we realize is that when those things are processed, when we understand ourselves on a deeper level, we can tweak and change the way we see the world, the way what we choose to believe, so that it serves us better, so that we can become essentially, we can program ourselves to be different, however we desire. So to answer your question, once we started getting into therapy and coaching and researching and doing a lot of seminars, essentially, and certifications, we found we started combining Eastern modalities with it as well, which has been very complementary. And a lot of that is based in medicine. And what we think of medicine in the West is a little bit different. What I see the general basis is medicine is just subscribed as fixing something that's broken, so it needs to be fixed. Versus in the East, it's more medicinal, it's healing, and it's something that can amplify or accentuate your life, make your life even better. So here, when we think, someone's on medication, there's something wrong with them. But in my opinion, everything is a drug or a medicine. depending on how you take it in and how much you digest and what dosage it is. And when I say everything, I mean every little bit of content that we consume, everything we eat, what we digest, what we perceive, what we see, can be, can be hindering us, or it can be enhancing us. And the best way to tell it apart really is, a mentor of mine says, examine how you feel the next morning. And we can even use alcohol as an example. Alcohol is a beautiful medicine that can be an outlet to let go, to release yourself, lose some inhibitions. But if you're trying to escape yourself and the alcohol version of you becomes more attractive than the regular version of you, then it becomes a drug, something that's a dependence. And usually the next morning and every successive morning becomes more of a hangover effect. Does that make sense? And anyone can chime in. You guys can feel free. I don't know how you guys usually structure this, but anytime you have a question or want to say something, I'm happy to listen. I want to make this more about you guys. I want to hear what stresses you guys are experiencing right now, what are fears, what concerns, and what I can do to help change that and give you my expertise. But essentially, this really changed my life, this path, because what I realize is that I'm not obsessed with day-to-day dentistry. I'm obsessed with parts of it. And what I love about dentistry is that if you're not afraid, you can literally make it whatever you want and take it however you want. There's so much freedom and flexibility within the profession, especially moving forward. You guys are, I know it might seem like a disadvantaged position right now, but I think dentistry, you guys get to create whatever you want with it. Because there's going to be a lot of room for changes. And traditional, single tooth dentistry, yeah, it's always going to be an option, but that's not going to be the only option moving forward. That was a lot. I know.
So you were talking about how it helped you with dentistry, and a lot of dental schools, it's very, the only thing we learn is dentistry. They tell us, oh, stay well, and it's keep your mind straight, but that is to further our careers as dentists.
Yeah.
And I think it's very scary for us to pursue something that you've been doing, something outside that, like you said, helped you further your career. So Seb had a question. He says he knows a friend who was a daily yogi, but gave up his daily practice due to medical school. And so the question is, how were you able to? But I think I want to make it a little more broad, as in how can you go against the grain in terms of what we're taught in school, if it's going to help you be better at the things you learn in school?
Yeah. One big thing that really flipped for me is questioning everything. It's so hard in dental school because you're overstimulated constantly. Like, do this, learn this, know this, know this. So it becomes so didactic to the point where we forget to ask why. Why do I need to know this? Where can I apply this? And what's the point? And where's it coming from? And when you can be really clear about those, and specifically asking constantly, I know right now it's the hardest, but constantly ask yourselves, what do you want? What do you dream of? And what actions can you take to get you there? One thing I think you all can be doing, raise your hand if you have a dental social media, a dental focused social media page. It doesn't have to be your personal, but it could be separate, or it could be yours. Like, do you talk about dentistry and stuff? Cool, good. That's your brand. And the sooner you can start creating your brand and defining who you are as a person through that brand, the more successful you'll be and the more lucrative you'll be in creating exactly what you want. And what I've noticed, the reason why dentists and patients and people pay attention to me is because I've taken two very unique things and combined them. And that's just interesting. And a lot of patients resonate with yoga and health and wellness. And more importantly, I resonate with people who love yoga and health and wellness. So it's become a win-win, and geography is no longer going to be a barrier in this profession, meaning that it's no longer the case that patients in your neighborhood and nearby are your mainstream. There are patients coming from far away, and depending on how you want to structure things, you can create a concierge dentistry brand where you fly in clients if that's something you want to do too. Just planting the seed of possibilities, because anything is possible, and the sooner you can be aware of that, the easier it becomes to create that. Did I answer the question, Alex? I tend
Yeah,
to ramble a lot too.
that's good because that spurs other questions.
Good.
Can I
Yeah.
ask, how did you find time, both throughout dental school and also in your practice, to keep up outside hobbies, yoga or other ones additionally?
That's a great question. And yeah, and that goes with Alex's question too, his per the other person. Time is, in my opinion, it's a construct. It's a decision. And that is why some people are seemingly superhuman while others are always out of time. What we tell ourselves gets reinforced. So if we're using an internal dialogue of I'm busy or I don't have the time, it becomes an automatic decision. And we don't realize it. But if you really think about it and journal, a great exercise, and especially for you guys, because it might be humbling, write down every 30 minutes what you do one day. Like every 30 minutes, write down what you're doing and notice all the gaps in time. And yeah, it might be a lot less for you guys because you're busier, but we tend to tell ourselves we're busier than we actually are. And making the decision to make this important and linking it to why, the why again. I mean, the reason I do yoga is because I get really cranky and antsy, and I'm kind of an asshole when I don't do yoga. So I tell myself I'm doing it for everyone else around me. And people learn to respect and understand that. I set my boundaries. And, you know, another way I do it, I realize this is just a personal preference of mine, but I hate sit down dinners. I'm just not a fan of it. I get stir crazy, I get antsy, and I'm always like, man, I can make this better myself. Well, not always, because there's a lot of really good, but I've just never been a foodie. So I set a boundary that if friends, especially friends I haven't seen in a while, they want to connect and catch up with me, okay, come to my yoga class or join me for a yoga class, because that's what I love doing anyway, and usually have a much more stimulating conversation after yoga rather than at a dinner. And I've lost some friends because of that, but those are friends that I probably didn't want to spend time with anyway because we've differed on our path. And I've made some other friends that right now in my life are more interesting. That's just a personal preference. But the bottom line is it depends on what decisions you make. And the decisions you make are everything. Every moment we are making choices, and whether we're aware of it or not. So if you can set down and decide what you want, why you want it, and then create boundaries around it. Say that, you know, I'm going to wake up every morning and work out here, or I'm going to do this during my lunch, and hold yourself accountable. And it even helps more if you can have a buddy or partner up and have accountability friends that do it. But never give in to a story that there isn't time, because that's just a story. And the moment we believe it, the moment we'll start using that language and creating it for ourselves.
When did you like decide to bring yoga and dentistry together? Like if you have another passion or like something that like you pursue other than dental school, but like you feel like they could somewhat interconnect, like did you pursue them separately at first and then bring them together? Like what motivated you to like decide that they would be like good to join?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks, Monica. So for me, it just happened kind of organically. But to answer that question first directly to you, if you have a passion, do it now, and pay attention to what's actually holding you back. If it's a true barrier, meaning that something that you have no control of, then you might have to postpone it. But if it's just a story, then challenge that story and say, okay, well, maybe I'm just telling myself this to buy time or whatever it is. For me, I got into yoga actually Danielle, my fiance, got me into it when she was a first year and I was a third year in dental school. And at that point I was suffering from boxing injuries. That was my therapy before, getting in the ring and just boxing and just taking out my aggression. But my shoulder couldn't handle it anymore. And I fell in love with yoga right away. I love the philosophical aspects. I love the anatomy of it. And it was a good sweat. And I didn't even have to wear a t-shirt. So it was a win-win-win for me. But I was overly masculine, a little macho, and kind of kept it on the low. I was kind of a closet yogi for a while because I was like, what are the other guys going to think? And the more I fell in love with it, the more I started talking about it. And then it just became more natural. And then after dental school, I was super stressed trying to build a reputation for myself. And I was using yoga as my outlet. I started like working around my favorite instructors and just trying to get to yoga classes as much as I can just to de-stress. And what I noticed is a lot of my colleagues were experiencing a lot of the same stress, and I was feeling a lot better. And then I started to bridge the two and telling other colleagues about yoga, and just realized that there's a need for this everywhere. And I just started from our colleagues stressing even more. And so I started to combine the two, but in my, like, I wish I would have done it sooner. And yeah, as of more recently, I just realized that this is what lights me up the most. And I love talking about it, and I love creating retreats and making things more mobile. So I started what Alex is alluding to, a coaching and retreat company for dentists. So we're hosting right now 2 retreats a year. The big one that we're excited for is going to be in the Dominican Republic. We're partnering with Bright Island Outreach, which is a dental aid group. So we're going to have 3 days dental aid, 3 days mind, body, soul transformation in the middle of the jungle. So it's like, and it really just spurred out from what do I want to do? And that's what I want to do. And I've found out that there's other people that want to do it too.
That sounds great.
Thanks, Monica. Yeah, so any other questions?
A little more closer to the profession, with your yoga knowledge, do you prescribe or can you prescribe any corrective exercises or something that is a little more physical to help lengthen our careers, if anything else?
That's a great question. I always will prescribe certain exercises. There's usually a common pattern with low back issues. It's usually underdeveloped hamstrings and shortened piriformis, which is like the internal hip muscle, from being overly sedentary. So just the act of walking, it's really case by case dependent. So it's hard to like just have a general prescription, because it depends on, like, you know, the activity level of the person. But usually I'll just tell them, like, try to find ways to get them to use their hamstrings more, to stretch the back line of their body more, and to move more. Because really it's a deficiency of movement more than anything else. The biggest utility I found with yoga to connect to patients is breathing and breath work. If you pay close attention, pay attention right now. How are you breathing? My guess is it's shallow. Most of the time, 2 to 6% of our lung capacity is what we use in our lifetime. 2 to 6%. We're breathing barely enough to be alive. Most of the time, we're breathing right up here in our chest. What that does is it creates strain right here in the upper back, and it's a deficiency of oxygen, especially to the brain. So diaphragmatic breathing deep, and especially when you're administering anesthetic, I usually don't even tell the patient to breathe, but if they're anxious, I'll tell them to breathe with me, like physically, but I just breathe deeply and hold, like put one hand on them. And you notice right away, there's so much subtle communication that happens without talking. Right away, they'll usually start breathing deeper. And if they're not, I will usually tell them to. And most anxiety patients, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. And non-anxiety patients usually are like, what? I didn't even feel the shock. Did you just shoot? That's crazy. Breathing does so much psychologically and physically. And that's why another thing we recently got into, which has been a very, very powerful healing medicine, is breath work. We just had another breathwork ceremony last night, and an audience about this size, usually of dentists that come in with an intention of letting something go, healing something, and we get them to breathe harder than they've ever breathed before for about 40 minutes. And it usually becomes hallucinogenic and kind of out of body experience. And there's a lot that can be extrapolated from that. And it's cool that, you know, you don't have to take any drugs to feel this. It's just from breathing.
Do you have any readings, books, essays, anything that you've read that's really made an impact for you, or you think could help us? Kind of anything, because dental school is very stressful,
Yeah.
it's very anxiety inducing. Anything that's helped you that could help us?
Yeah, actually, let me grab it. It's right here. Anybody familiar with Aubrey Marcus? On the day, he's like a health and wellness expert that also implements a lot of Eastern modalities. But essentially, this book's all about having a more ideal lifestyle and making things like, rather than diet, and he goes into what the important general constructs are. But yeah, it's own the day, own your life. And I can put it, it's essentially just human optimization. And what was I going to say? I love that he goes heavy into the research, and it's just it's a very different modality than calorie counting or, you know, doing reps in the gym. It's more comprehensive, and the things that he prescribes or subscribes are very simple, and it's just more lifestyle based. But yeah, that's been a big source of inspiration in my life. Aside from that, and it's refreshing because it's kind of a comedic tone too, so it might be nice to kind of take away from heavy, dense textbooks. I would recommend the audio version too, the Audible. Any other questions? I want to hear what's been stressing you guys, and if anyone's open to like just really opening up about it. Because the other thing, I mean, dentistry as a whole is a very isolated profession, or has been traditionally. I think it's changing now. And what you guys have, you know, in dental school sometimes gets forgotten. You know, once we get out of school, we got to get in our own little world, in our own little bubble. And we're in an interesting point right now where organized dentistry is starting to change. It's not as popular to younger new dentists. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I want to hear how you guys feel about that. Where's your head at, or what stresses are you going through?
I was actually going to ask if you've had any like patients, friends, or students that you know reach out and kind of, I guess, answer this question that you think would be helpful to share with us, and kind of, I guess, guide us into maybe bringing some unconscious stresses to light.
So essentially what you're asking is like, what's a common stress?
Right. Something that you've heard since we've kind of been in lockdown, or since COVID-19 started, in relation to stress.
Yeah. The most common thing I think that we run into, especially in dentists, is fear of not being enough, or the perfectionist syndrome, because we've been conditioned to, like, you know, it's standard not met. If, you know, you failed, you're worthless, you know. And that's, even if we don't directly see that, it's an underlying belief and a drive. And it's funny because when we get out of practice, that's no longer, you know, the rubric. But what I've noticed is there's a drive to just live your life that way for everything. Because often how you do one thing is how you do everything. And while it's beautiful in dentistry, it can be very tolling in other parts of life, especially when it comes to our appearance or what we think other people think of us. If our expectations are unmet, we start to beat ourselves up. It's just a natural psychological tendency. So I think to remedy that, the important thing is to just pay attention to your internal dialogue and do things that make you love yourself, make you feel really good about yourself as often as you can. Create rituals. And that's again why I'm going back to yoga and why I go crazy when I don't, because I feel good. I feel connected to my body, and I remember all these muscles and all these parts that I have. And when I'm breathing deep, I get a little bit of rush and more confidence, and I feel more like I can do anything, more or less. And it's a good state of mind to be in. And that can be ubiquitous. You know, Danielle loves getting dressed up and looking pretty sometimes. The other day, she just did it for no reason, and she felt great. And it's an important it's an important thing. So take good care of yourself and do what makes you feel good about yourself.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I feel like now is the time to maybe find new things to do, creative things that we normally wouldn't do because we can't do our traditional way of what makes us happy by getting out all the time.
Yeah, one of my favorite questions to ask is what is the thing that you did the most when you were young before you were told not to, or before you were told you can't? And dig into that and go back, and it could be something completely different than now, but sometimes it might lead to surprising new roads. And there is always a way to bridge the gap and bring that into your daily life now.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Ashley.
Actually had a question. So something that I struggle with is kind of having the patience, whether it be, you know, to finish a whole hour-long session. I usually do like a YouTube video for yoga or whatnot, because I feel like I'm looking for these like quick fixes, whether it be like get a full body massage one time when you're like super stressed, you know, like that sort of thing. So do you have any specific examples on how to like train yourself to push through that sort of lack of patience when it comes to that?
That is a great question. And I have to be honest, that's something I'm constantly working on too. If only there was a way to put our mind on do not disturb, like we could do with our phone, right? But putting your phone on do not disturb is a good start, because it's the dependency on these things. There's so much research now about this too. It's insane. So if you can take like a great ritual. My mornings are sacred now. I will not turn on my phone for the first at least 30 minutes. I aim for an hour, but it's at least 30 minutes of the day. And it has really changed how my mornings go. But to answer your question, start with that. And it's just discipline and practice. It's hard, I know, especially when you have so much on your mind, but finding things that really do help you relax. And the most important thing is repetition, repeating those things so you can program your mind to go, oh, okay, this is that time again where I shut off. Meditation really helps, but I've seen meditation backfire so many times when people aren't ready for it, meaning that if your mind is constantly hyperactive, forcing yourself to sit still will just drive you crazy. So sometimes movement helps, going on walks, but finding it's very specific to every individual, but finding what helps your mind calm down, and most importantly, repeating that habit over and over and over again to train your brain to cut down and be disciplined. Whatever that activity is, turn your phone off and tell yourself, okay, whatever thoughts come up, I will address them after this. This is my time.
Thank you. I think that during the quarantine time, I've actually felt like the best in that sense, because of the fact that we have more time, and I guess there's a little bit less pressure with, at least for Stony Brook, with grades and things. So I feel like, as crazy as this time has been for everyone, it's kind of worked out in that I was able to kind of implement more routines and things. But thank you.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Diana. So now you just got to figure out how to bridge the gap between what helped you and what worked, and how you can condense it to fit your current schedule. But yeah, I think all in all, if you choose to see it, COVID was a blessing on so many levels. And all the things that are going on, you know, all the atrocities that happened, they opened up a lot of people's eyes. I think overall they created a deeper connection. So, you know, I don't want to get political or go into anything like that, but it's easy to see. We can see the blessings and the curses in anything. And when you can choose to see the blessings, you grow that much faster. Great questions, guys.
We've gone into a profession knowing there are, at least the way I see it, at least two sides. There's a very obvious economic incentive to be in the profession that we're in, and there's also a caring side of helping people. And so I feel like sold is a very negative word, but we're sold this idea that in the end we're going to be helping people and we're going to be comfortable. And I have a hard time seeing the leap from dental school to this economic and, I guess, mental freedom of having an established career. And I think that's very stressful because we try really hard in dental school to separate ourselves as students, and that's very stressful, at least for me, in any environment.
Yeah.
So if you one ever felt the way, because we all know we need to graduate and get jobs, and that for me is probably the scariest part of dental school, is what happens after, because there's no book about it. If you could tell me how you deal with it, what your experiences with that whole issue were, that'd be much appreciated.
Yeah, that's a great question. I love where your head's at here, and I couldn't agree more. And I face the same thing. So here's the thing. Here's what I've noticed. You know, we take this Hippocratic oath. We come with the intention of being healers, of helping holistically treat patients and heal them of their traumas. But we, through the topography of the profession and fitting in, and especially with the way insurances cater now, we turn into fixers. We turn into people who will patch one tooth up at a time, which at first is good and it's still doing a huge service, but it's easy to get stuck in that. And again, first and most important question is, what do you want? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? And it can change at any point, but constantly asking yourself, is this what I want, is the most important question. Because it's so easy to fall into the trap of, I'll do it when, I'll change when, or I'll be happy when. And usually it becomes a repetitive cycle, and that when never happens because we train ourselves to find excuses to stay in where we are. And what I'm referring to more specifically is you know, I think dentistry as a whole is turning more corporate. There's bigger practices, which could lead to more freedom. So if people want to do part-time dentistry or do, you know, not have to worry about the business side, it's very advantageous. It's a great and flexible means. But to go into the business side now and to be successful, you either have to be, you know, become like an MBA and go into corporate and own many practices, or you niche and you do something that is unique to you and connect that and create your own life. It sounds beautiful, and it is, but you have to be patient and you have to be persistent about it. It's going against the grain is never easy at first. People only believe you when they see results, and creating those results on the front end can be challenging. But again, it depends on what you want. And sometimes just experiencing, you know, it's good to just go into several associateships, but go in with the intention like, okay, I'm just exploring this. If I don't like it by this time, I'm quitting. And if you set that ahead of time, you're likely to follow the path that you want. But if you don't, then it becomes that much harder to decide when you're going to move on, to decide and make other decisions moving forward. But essentially, what you guys don't hear is that there is really no competition. The true competition is Apple, is, I don't know, boats, cars, and vacations. that is what you're competing against for your patients and for the services that you're offering, not the dentist down the street. If what you're looking for is traditional dentistry, and learning to connect with patients and demonstrate and communicate that value and why their back teeth are more important than an iPhone, than the newest iPhone, or certain things like that, that is going to lead to more freedom in your life, or more success, if you will. If you're going that route. I mean, the beauty of dentistry is there's so many routes. There's also the FQHC route, which is so beautiful all in itself. But where I'm trying to go with this is, if you're clear on what you want to do and how you want to do it, there are ways to get to that no matter what. And competition, or the thought that I have to do it this way because that's the way everyone's doing it, those are just stories. And I want to be proof or show evidence that there's many more where I came from who decided to do things a little differently. And I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. I have many, many mentors who have showed me that there are so many other options, and we get to create them. And especially now, you know, like you guys could be a bunch of patients. I could be literally offering a consultation right now and billing for it too. With technology, we have so many more options.
I had a question now, Sebastian. Apologies if it was answered for whatever reason. I actually had to restart my computer since it was lagging. But you seem like you have a lot of it together. I just was wondering if what are you working on right now yourself?
Yeah, so I'm always happy because this is all I ever think about right now. So that's it. The big passion project is a retreat that we're hosting in February in the Dominican jungle, and it's for dentists and spouses, and even we actually have an EMT signed up too. But it's 3 days of dental aid and 3 days of mind, body, soul. It's in a jungle tree house. Actually, if you guys want to look it up, this place is amazing. It's called the Dominican Tree House Resort. And it's just a bunch of little tree houses in the jungle. And the village is really remote. It's a small little village that's a fishing village primarily. They have no access to dental care. So we're going to set up a clinic and help out the village for 3 days and do yoga and mindset work those 3 days, and for 3 more days after that, as well as several different modalities that we've created, but the set with Bright Island Outreach, which is a dental aid organization. But essentially, that's the big passion project. And another thing that we're working on is actually creating a concierge dental brand to fly in full mouth comprehensive patients. What we're noticing is that a lot of people have a general dentist, but they don't vibe with their general dentist. And we've done my fiance and I have done several cosmetic and full mouth rehabilitation courses. So we want to niche into more comprehensive dentistry, because that allows us to spend more time with the patient and to learn more about them and heal them full body rather than one tooth at a time. And the goal is to be able to just rent a downtown Chicago practice for whenever we have the patients, and just use that rather than owning our own practice. And so far it works, but it's still in its infancy. But we hope to grow the brand to a point where it's sustainable, and we have 2 comprehensive clients a month, and the rest of the time we're traveling the world doing retreats. Any other questions, guys? Go ahead, Alex.
No, I was just going to do a last call for questions.
Okay. Last call. Yeah, I mean, these questions have been great. I want to emphasize again, if there are any fears or concerns or stressors, Diana, you had a great question about time and fitting in, and Michelle, you did too. You guys have all had great questions. So if there's any just particular stressors, I think that's where we can excel the most, or where my expertise can really be applied.
I guess also something that I wanted to note is we haven't gotten into clinic yet, but I'm seeing a lot on social media in terms of the extra PPE that dentists have to wear now. And I personally am nervous a little bit more so for that part because it takes us like 4 hours to do like one filling, you know? So anyways, yeah, that's just one of those things that I'm not sure what that's going to look like. And I feel like from the breathing aspect of, you know, I don't know what kind of stress that's going to put on our bodies. And
Yeah, that's a great question. The biggest thing, I mean, for you guys, because you have only one patient per like morning or afternoon traditionally, it's much easier because then you're just PPing twice for the most part. So that should be a huge advantage for you guys versus doctors who are working out of 3 operatories and have hygiene checks all the time. Those setups are way more disadvantageous to garbing and degarbing. But the biggest thing with breathing, there's a mask company. Oh, I'm trying to remember what they're, I might have to DM you, Alex, after. There's a mask company that you face scan using your phone and send it out, and they'll make you a custom shield that you can put an N95 right over. And it's so much more comfortable. And this way it's not putting pressure on the bridge of your nose, so you can breathe a lot better too. I would highly recommend that. They're $30 for the shield itself, and it's a no-brainer in my opinion. Maybe you can might be a far shot, but maybe you guys can even get your school to cover it. Great questions.
What would be the best way to connect with you? Like, would it be through email, Instagram, or?
IG is usually the best. I love, and I'm that's a great question. Yeah. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, shoot us a DM, and I love hearing any questions all the time. We definitely love helping out dental students, and you know, you guys are the future, and I just want to keep harping that you get to create the future, and the more dentists that are aware of that, the more likely we're not going to end up in Walmarts. You know. What was I going to say with that too? Yeah, I love hearing DMs about mini wins or questions or stressors or anything like that. Always happy to provide support in any way we can. And we have other resources. The breathwork ceremonies, if you guys ever want to join, the next one will be Tuesday, June 30th. More than happy to set up a student discount code for you guys to make it like, I don't know, $10. And it's essentially just 2 hours of the first hour is connecting with other people, listening to what's going on. You can get an idea of what's going on in dentistry. And the second hour is the actual breath work and recap. And we have a little Marco Polo video chat group for support and extra downloads or awareness after too. And we have some YouTube videos, like what we did at the beginning. We call it our pre-huddle yoga flow, what we like to do at the beginning of the day before seeing patients with our staff. And it's just a great way to just get the blood flowing. And every single thing is calculated, like the 6 deep breaths between shaking our bodies. There's a lot of research on why to do that. And we released our low back muscles as well as our neck through that controlled articular rotation, which essentially there's one for each main joint. And there's a lot of research now that's showing that our tissues develop based on the Golgi tendons in our joints. So in other words, our joints tell our brains what's going on. So if we're not moving our joints through the full range of motion, they're literally telling the brain that this is a waste of energy. We don't need extra tissue supporting here. We can get rid of it. And that's how arthritis starts to and things like that down the line. So moving your joints through their full range of motion, especially the main ones, shoulders, neck, low back, upper back, hips, knees, and sometimes even elbows and ankles and wrists for sure, is a game changer. And if you guys can start creating those habits now, you'll be good for life. Because we do deal with a good amount of dentists that start getting chronic pains too. And in my opinion, in my awareness, it often stems from stress more than it does lifestyle or what they're doing. I have a couple, I mean, one of my colleagues is the best example. very, very active dude. He's always done CrossFit, done triathlons, but he's getting chronic neck pains. And he also just bought 2 ortho practices, and he's just stressing his ass off. And anytime I see him, he's like super tense, because when we're stressed, we're activating our fight or flight response. So blood's being diverted to our skeletal muscles, which isn't helping the situation, because we're getting less blood flow to the neocortex, where we logically make decisions and think straight. So yeah, stop stressing is my prescription. Tell your professors that they're screwing you over if they're stressing you. And most of the time, that's just what they know, because that's what they've been taught.
I have a
Thank
very
you.
quick question.
Sure, Juliana.
No, go ahead, Alex.
No. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm an incoming D1 at NYU, and I was just wondering if you or any of you guys have any advice that you would have wanted to receive before you actually started dental school.
Yeah, that would definitely be more applicable to you guys, because that was a great summer, but I don't remember much until. Enjoy your summer for sure, as best as you can. That's my advice right now. Anybody want to take that?
I was going to echo the same thing. I feel like there's very little you can do to prepare yourself for the pace of dental school. And once you get it, you'll adapt to it like that. So relax this time. And then once it hits you, you're going to swing back. It'll be fine.
My advice is to get involved in ASDA.
Thank you.
I would say it's okay not to know it all. I think, and definitely ask questions. Sometimes we would be in small group sessions, and that's probably the most safest place to ask questions. But sometimes even asking questions, there's like this unknown, I don't know. For me personally, it felt like there's this unknown judgment kind of going. It's like, oh, you don't know that? And it's like, well, I'm first year, so it's okay not to know everything. And then all the amount of information that you're being taught, you will be able to retain it all and catch on to like the high demand of having to study so much, so frequently, and the vast amount of information. You're just going to be like, at first it may seem overwhelming, but eventually you will be able to learn quicker and more efficiently. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I forgot how well my brain worked, especially first year dental school. I do miss that. And also one thing to add, just to bring everything full circle, pay close attention to what lights you up the most, what makes you feel like your greatest self, what rituals you have, develop them and set them in stone right now. Whether it's exercising, whether it's what you're eating, whether it's how you're sleeping, what you're doing, even the celebrations you do. And don't let anyone tell you you have to give those up for dental school. Because like, to go with Alex's med school friend, I think it was more a decision that he made a choice. Like, oh, I have to sacrifice the thing that I don't like doing that much anyway, because of this. So it can be more of an excuse. Personally, I was in probably the best shape of my life through dental school. So there's no reason why you can't do the things that make you feel your best at any point. Most of the time, it's just an excuse.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
For sure. You guys mind if I get a quick picture?
Do some people want to turn their cameras on if they're not? For the photo, of course.
Oh, what's up? I love seeing beautiful faces. Thanks, guys. Hello, everyone. It's good to know that nobody was really napping. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, hold on, wrong button. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Awesome, guys. Any last second questions?
Thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
dental school is a very hard road, obviously. But I think it's very eye-opening to see people who did it differently, because you come in thinking you're gonna come in and then be a dentist and then work in your private practice or for your corporation, and then you die. And it's really hard to see that there are other things that we love, and it's possible to do both, because we think that every time we do something else, it takes away from what we got into dental school for. So thank you for all the sage advice. I'll drop your handle and all that information plenty more times. If you would be willing to set up the breathworks, whatever is in your heart,
Sure.
Just reach out to you. I'm not going to be middleman, and if they want, they can reach out to me.
Here's what I'll do.
I'll send all the information.
I'm going to drop the code right now that we have for our private clients. I just ask that you don't share this code with anyone that wasn't here. I want to honor it to you guys only, but that will make it like $9 for anyone who's interested. And again, breathwork is just, it's just an outlet to let go, to purge, and to notice some limiting beliefs. And Alex, what you alluded to right there is very, very deep too. A lot of the time, and it's very common in our profession especially, we're driven by guilt. You know, it's such a privilege to get into dental school. Everything that maybe not just you sacrificed, but your parents, your families, everyone around you who supported you has sacrificed. So it's so easy to get stuck in this place where, oh, well, I have to do it this way and do it like this because that is what everybody wanted of me, or that is what I wanted of me at one point. But if you can let go of some of that and recognize that ultimately what you're doing, why you're doing it, is to be happy, to live your best life, and to be the best version of yourself. And that's what your parents want. That's what your family wants. That's what your friends want. That's what everybody wants of you, just like yourself. And when you can remember that, it's so much easier to just be unapologetic and just say, listen, I'm going to do it this way because this is how I want to do it. And that is, I think that energy is so necessary and so contagious. One of my favorite quotes is, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what lights you up, because what the world needs is more people that are lit up.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm really proud of you guys and inspired by you guys. Thank you for having me here. And if you have any other questions, feel free to DM us. And I wish you guys all the best, and enjoy it. Enjoy dental school too. Let it be work hard, play hard, and enjoy the connections that you guys are making and having here. I'm sure you guys can't wait to see each other in person again. And just embrace all of it, no matter where you are in your journey. It can always, always be enjoyable if you allow it to be.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending your time talking to us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.